Back to COG 376. Today we're going to continue our exploration of doing Python programming, and we can first we'll quickly recap what we did last time just to get up to speed. Open my PDF of that. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Okay. But also we're going to step away from just playing around inside of a terminal and start to actually write a script. So a script is going to be a collection of instructions, right? So if any one line of code is an instruction to the program, a script is just a bunch of lines of code. But we'll get into a few more things on the way there. But one thing that we're going to do in the long run is we're going to start actually, you will use Python on your own computer, and you'll write your own script files on your own computer and run them there. But that involves a certain amount of installing things and making sure things work, and I just want to keep up our momentum of just being able to do it quickly online. So we're going to start with, you can actually search anything. You could just do Python online editor, right? And there's a dozen different ones that all roughly do the same thing. This program is website one. It's pretty good because it offers it actually has a shell. Can I kill this ad? Can at least minimize it. There we go. It actually has an interpreter over here at the same time as it has something, a script editor on the left. So we're going to use this. If you want to go to my website, I have a quick link to it here. Program is online, Python script editor, and terminal. So we'll kill that. And let's walk ourselves back to where we've started. So we saw last time the basics of hello world. If we just do it right in the interpreter, print hello. Oh, it blew up. Come on, play nice with me today. Print hello world, right? Hey, it did it. So it output the command. Let's do it again. Just make sure. It seems a little odd. Good. All right. That caret should have been there. So it's a little dinky. No worries. We can also do x equals 10, right? And what's in x? 10, right? Other things we screwed with, we touched on assigning variables like we just did. We looked at Boolean values, we looked at numerical values, we looked at strings. We looked at cutting strings up with useful techniques like split. We looked at working over a whole list of strings, of smaller strings and all that good stuff. So we're not gonna linger on this last file. The agenda today is to show you, here, we'll clear that shell, and show you how we can do something a little more permanent than just writing things and leaving them in the shell, and which is great. You got to play around and get hands-on with it, right? But we would like to do something that is more stable. So this is why you would start to write things like a script. So to start, let's just look at this. Here's a script. It has 2 comments at the top. Again, comments are just for the reader of the script. It's not, computers don't read that part. So you could delete it, you could not. Either way, it's fine. And then the first command, the first instruction that we give in the script is on line 3. We say print the string hello world. If I run that, aha, it did it. And I can still screw around, because thankfully we still have an interpreter here. Clear that out. So, what are we trying to do here? The idea of writing in a script, and this is what you should really get used to, is it's nice to be able to play around in the terminal, in the interpreter, the active prompt that takes stuff, blah, blah, blah. We'll do print again. Hi. Oops, I blew it up. I blew it up because I typed something that the computer can't understand. Okay, so hi. Yeah, the idea of a script is that you can you don't have to, you can commit to having things work the same way every time. So let's take some of the stuff we used last time. For example, what was the most complex thing we wound up doing, right? We had wordies already, so let's go find where we defined wordies. What was in wordies? Wordies was the split string. Let's just copy some things over. Also, when copying off of this PDF, be careful. This end carriage return character is kind of busted, so ignore the carriage return. So first thing we're going to do is just replicate what we did before in a script instead. And you'll notice that you can, it's just like writing a text document because it is literally just writing a text document. You can change things and put them in the order. So things will always be executed top to bottom. So if we go and we get, what was that? Where do we define thingy? What was it called? Thingy was the quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dog. Great. Copy paste is your friend in programming land. So we've defined this variable. We've defined it. We're saying we're going to split it, but we need to save that somewhere. So if I recall, we're going to save that into wordies equals thingy.split. And then what was the final thing we did? We did this really complicated looking for loop, right? So what is this for? Oh, I grabbed out. Oh, that's no good. Hang on. Oh, I've gotten all these. Don't do what I've done here. Just retype this stuff if you're gonna follow along, which you should. Okay. This little editor will help handle the indentation for you, but be careful. So check it out. Here's a script. What does it do? It assigns thingy to be the quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dog. Cool. It also splits that into, it splits that thingy up, that sentence. In fact, let's start using different words. Sentence, oops, words, words. And we're going to switch to, because we're going to, if you're defining a variable for the space of a smaller section of code like this in this for loop, we're saying, hey, for this variable we're about to use, let's just make it I. This is kind of standard practice, and it makes it a little bit easier to understand what's going on in your code. So the more specific your variable is to like one process, the smaller it can be. The broader it is, maybe the more complex you want the word to be. This is just practice. This is just sort of like best practice type stuff. You don't have to worry about this necessarily for making the code work properly, but it's more to kind of help you understand your own stuff. So what's going to happen here? If I run this, what should happen? Well, if we're right, if I'm right, you're not making the calls here. I'm responsible for making sure it's right. If I'm right, then this sentence is going to get split up like it was last time, and it's going to get. We're gonna go through each word, and then if I is less than 5, okay, then we're going to print the words in uppercase version of themselves, and if I is not less than 5, so the index that we're on in the list of words, we'll get it lowercase. So let's run. Let's see what happens. Oh no. Have I done wrong? Did I blow it up? Oh, okay. I just had to run it twice, I guess. Seems like it's not happy with the current, yeah, there we go. Hey, it did the thing. That thing we spent the entire last session on, it did it. And the beauty is, here it is. In the script, it still lives here, and we can edit it directly. You know, we can change things about this, but it'll still be there. So once you start working with Python off of this, web interface type stuff where we're just playing around for now, you'll find that writing a script is the powerful way to edit code. and you can always do it from scratch. We just did this from scratch, right? This is just stuff we already wrote somewhere else, and we've kind of rewritten it in a script. So now I want to get us more towards, kind of walk us towards the life of a chatbot, right? What does a chatbot do? It's going to take text from the user, and it's going to process it somehow, and it's going to spit something back out for the user. Okay. So, thinking about Eliza, our friend. Can I, just on the fly, Eliza online interactive chat. Here's one. Hello, I am Eliza. Hi, Eliza. I am John. Do I believe it is normal to be John? Hey. That's tough to say. Okay, so it's just sort of... Oh, I've actually talked to this one before. I've got some fallbacks. It's dangerous. So, elucidate your thoughts. I like pizza sometimes. So she's just in a mode of batting information back at me over and over, not even really seizing on anything. Let's pull the trick that we know will work with the therapist. I am actually kind of depressed, right? It's going to seize on that word. How long have you been actually kind of depressed? Okay, so it actually snatched the whole thing from I am. A few years. Tell me more. Nah. See, I'm not playing nice with it. Okay. I are actually kind of depressed. Tell me more. It's broke. We're breaking it. I've done wrong by Eliza, but you're seeing kind of how its bones work, right? It's taking some of the text I have, I am actually kind of depressed, turns it back into something it thought was going to be a better word for the case, and then it prompts us to tell me more. It's just doing that basic mirroring. So, what is Eliza doing? Eliza is taking in text, doing some functions on it, and producing this text string back that is hopefully going to get me, the user, to click it again. Or not click it again, to keep typing, keep talking. Work through my issues with my computer therapist, right? I'll just leave that up. So we're not going to make that today, but I want to keep walking us toward that. So one thing that you'll want to pick up is, in the interest of reusing code and making it executable in clean ways, you want to be able to define a function. So for now, let's do a nice classic move and just comment out all the lines that we have here. We don't necessarily want to delete them forever, but we want to get rid of them from the executable code. So now if I run this script, nothing happens, right? So let's start fresh. What does defining a function look like? In Python, it's the term def. It's a keyword def you start with. And you define the name of a function. So we'll say a function. And we'll say... Actually, you can just start with no arguments at all. And again, remember, in Python, for blocks of code, so we're going to define some stuff that needs to happen, and then we're going to spit it out. So first, let's do something, a basic thing to illustrate something kind of important. So if I say, within this function, we say x equals 10, print x, right? Okay. So now, based on the indentation, what can you say? This is a function named a function. It's just going to take closed parens. There's no arguments in it. What happens in that function? We define a variable x, and then we print it out. Okay? So if we run this, what's going to happen? Nothing, because we actually didn't call the function. We just defined the function. So let's call it now a function after we define it. 10. Okay. Now here's the question. What's in x? Oh, x is not defined. That's because x was only defined within the scope of this function. If I had x defined out here as x equals 100, let's run it again. What should happen? X is defined out here at 100, but inside this function, it's going to have a different definition. This is called scope. So you can define variables just for the length of a block of code like this, for the block of a function. Let's run it. It still prints 10 because we defined x, but if I call x on its own, it's back to 100. So this is just to illustrate that when you're inside of a function, you can start defining variables and not worry about them polluting the rest of your space. You can just keep them, these little clean, helpful variables within a function. So let's see why we might want to do that. Let's do a different function, def b function, okay? This one, let's say we want to take two variables, x and y. So these are called arguments. We can say this is an argument that must be passed. This is an argument that also must be passed. So now, if I say z equals x times y, print z, or actually we can do something kind of cute. We can print x times y equals, oops. And then you can actually put a comma for the print statements, and you can give it multiple arguments, just like our function here is going to, z. Okay, what am I talking about? What is this doing? When we call b function, we're going to give it two values. We're going to assume that they're numbers. We're not doing anything careful to make sure that's the case. It's just what we assume is going to happen. So then inside the function, we call z is going to be assigned the value of x times y. Forget that quote. Okay, so now this is going to get x times y, and then we're going to print, hey, this is the answer, right? So let's do that. If I call b function, let's first watch what happens here. I'm going to delete this and this. We just now have in this script, oops, force of habit, I had command save. So in this script, we have now defined two functions. Run it. Nothing is printed, nothing is returned, but the functions exist. So if I say a function, it does the thing. Hey, cool. If I say b function, what happens if I don't include any variables, any arguments? It explodes. It's unhappy because I didn't provide it the right things, right? So let's do b function. And what do we want to do? We want to multiply two numbers. So let's do 10 and 5. Oh, did I blow this up? B function. Let's run it again. This thing's a little janky. Okay, missing the two of the required arguments. Good, good, good. So b function, we want to multiply 10 and 5. Ugh, man. I kind of backed the wrong horse on this. B function, 10 and 5. Come on, bud. I might be getting throttled. I am asking their website for computing time. This doesn't seem too hard. Come on. All right. Try B function again. Yeah, bear with me. When I'm doing screen recording, it's a little harder to make clean edited stuff. Okay, this looks familiar. Good. So now we've said x times y, we get the 50, the answer. Cool. So this is all to say you can define a function of something reusable that you want to be able to do say in two different ways. Maybe you want to do it multiple times, or you want to do it on different kinds of input. So let's make ourselves a function that handles what we did last time. Let's make a function called def. What are we looking for? Like what's this process? Split cap. We're going to split it up and capitalize it. So we're going to take some string, so text. We'll call that variable argument. And again, arguments are variables that you define just right here in the definition of the function. Again, they are limited in scope. They only exist within the function. So we'll just take text, right? We're going to want to split some kind of text up, just like we did in sentence here, right? And we're going to split, and we're going to do it all. We're going to do it all over again. So this is going to make it easier to do this fairly complex thing in a single line of code, because we've, as before, written instructions and hidden them inside of a new kind of instruction. So let's go. Let's see. We have text. We can say tokens equals text.split. Okay, now I'm throwing out random new words on the fly. I'm doing that intentionally so that you recognize that the variable name, the label that you put on the bucket, for the variable, it doesn't matter. It's whatever you tell it to be, right? So in this case, we had sentence and words. Now I'm saying we have text coming into this function, and we are putting that. I'm going to say break it into tokens, sort of the generic term for breaking things up, right? So we break it into tokens, cool. And then what are we going to do? We're going to recreate our for loop again. So let's do it. And I'm just going to type it so it's less unclear. So for index I, so for some value I in this range from 0 to the length of tokens, right? Okay, and again, we indent because a for loop is a block of code. And it's doing it for me here, but you need to remember that the indentation matters, is all I'm saying. Okay, so for each value in this range of 0 through the length of the words, we're going to do a branch again. So if I is less than 5, then we're going to print words, not words, tokens, the one that we defined right here, sub I, but we're going to force it to uppercase, right? Like we did before. Else, if that's not the case, if I becomes larger than 5, larger than or equal to 5, then we're going to print the lowercase version. Sub I dot lower. Ugh, okay. Okay, so here's a function. I'm trying to decide, making sure we don't have anything else to do in this function. So split the cap, okay. Split cap is the name of the function. Text is the name of the input that we're giving it. And we'll say tokens is that text split up. And then we do our loop that we've already kind of seen work in this script already. You could have just copy pasted. I just decided not to. It's important to get used to doing things one at a time by hand on a lot of these things, especially while you're learning. So let's run this and run a sentence through it. Okay. So now if I call split cap, split cap, and we need to give it, all right. Is it, here's the question, split cap, does it exist? No, it's not defined at all. So we'll run the script again. By the end of this, I may end up suggesting a different one of these, but for now, we'll use this. So, split cap, just making sure it exists. Let's give it A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, right? Just a test string. We know that this should split it up into tokens, and the tokens will be the letters A, B, C, and D, and etc. So if I do this, does it work? Ugh. Why did it go away? Split cap A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, etc. It's not defined anymore. Ugh. I'm getting tired of this. I'm just actually going to put this after our function in here so that it's saved somewhere and I don't have to keep typing it. Hey, I'm following my own advice. So when this script runs top to bottom, we're going to have define two functions that we're not really using anymore, and then define a third function that has some value to us. Okay, run it. Hey, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J. Cool. It's doing it. So now we can have it do kind of anything. We can have it take anything that we want. So let's call it on this sentence again. We can even define sentence, right? So we're saying, okay, after we run that example, go define sentence as this sentence, and then call split cap on the contents of that variable named sentence. Oops, I tried to save again. Okay, so run it. It does the first one. It goes on and does the second one. All right. Interesting. So we've defined something that is not truly useful, but at least we're starting to see, we've tokenized a string and we've kind of done things based on its content. What else can we do here? What else might be useful? Well, one nice thing that we can do with functions is we can, first of all, add another argument. What if we wanted to make the capitalization, the forced uppercase, make that variable? Make it so that you can change that based on when you call the function. So we're going to keep this version of it, but I'm just going to copy paste it. And we can, again, I'm going to get rid of some of these testing things. We'll just keep in the script for now the functions that we're writing. Split cap 2. Okay. We want to make this 5 something that we can change. So we'll call it cap words. Here, we'll replace it, cap words. What have I done? What I've done is I've defined a new function, very similar, almost identical to the last one. But this one needs 2 arguments. It needs the raw text that we're going to process, and it needs some kind of variable to change it. So the variable in this case it's going to be a number. How many capitalized words do we want? And we're going to do the same process. We're going to say as long as I is less than the number of capitalized words that we want, then we're going to do uppercase, and then otherwise we'll do lowercase. So, let's run it. Split cap 2. I think we can, I'll make this definition stay. Split cap 2, this other function that we defined, and we're going to say sentence, and let's start with 5 and just see if it does it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Cool. Let's make it 8. Run it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then dog is the only one missing. What about just 2? The quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dog. Aha! We've increased the power of this function to do different things. We've made it more capable of doing processing to the text based on what the user wants, or perhaps what the rest of our program wants to do. We've made it more flexible. One last nice tidbit that I'll show in here is that, okay, that's great, but what if we don't always want to define that? What if we have a bunch of places in our code elsewhere that are calling this function, and we just wrote a brand new one that we want to provide a default value? Well, we can do that. So right here in the definition, we can say, if no other value was provided, just use 5. Otherwise, we'll go for it. So let's see. This one, it can't be 2. Let's call it 3. Split cap 3. So let's do it on sentence. And let's do it on sentence and the number 3. What's going to happen? This first one, you might initially think, oh, I didn't give it enough arguments. It might blow up. But because we've provided it with this, it's going to work. In fact, I'll demonstrate that, of course. Split cap 2 sentence and not an additional word like it needs. So run. It blew up. See, missing one required positional argument, cap words. Okay, we get rid of that because it's stopping our whole script from running. Let's get rid of this one for 2. Leaving a lot of testing. That's fine. That works. Okay, it does it twice. The first time, it does the default. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the rest of the words. The second time, it does the one we provided. 3. Great. Cool. Okay. Nice. So, that gets us to a point where we can consider, we have 3 different semi-useful functions, at least 3 different functions that will process text in a particular way. Now let's get into how we take input from the user. So that's as simple in Python. It's a function called input. It's a system function. And what this does is, this is really just a call. What will happen here, I'll even do it over here. Input, and we can give it a prompt. Type something interesting. You kind of want a space after within the text. So here's the string prompt I'm giving it. Type something interesting. Okay. You see that the system has actually spit that out to us. So now we can say, I have a cat. Oh, no, something blew up. Something foolish blew up. Oh man, let's clear this. We'll try it again. Input, type something interesting. Run it all the way down. Okay, type something interesting. I have a cat. What is it doing? Something is blowing up in a way that's doesn't make any sense. Okay. Oh. I must have misunderstood part of my own. You know what? I'll fix it on the fly. Let's go look at the Python documentation. This is what humans do. In fact, I want to model this for you. So, I've misunderstood some basic thing. It happens. I've been programming in Python for a decade, but it happens sometimes. So, built-in functions. Where's input? Here's our friend. Okay, so prompt, what's it going to do? We'll use the elaborate line editing. It's not being very clear. Input, prompt. It's written standard output without trailing new line. The function then reads a line from input, converts it to a string, and returns that string. Okay. It may be asking for a type something interesting. Come on, man. Oy vey. Okay. I'm just going to do something. I just copied all that text. I cut it. I'm going to reload this page because I think it's a little bit on the busted side right now. I'm going to drag it all, paste it, Get rid of this ad. Make that bigger. Run it. Type something interesting. Hello. Nothing happens. This actually makes sense to me. So the point is that input needs to be saved somewhere. So if I put input, if I save this to a variable, x equals input, type something interesting. We'll run our whole script again. Hello, I am not a dog. If I hit x, there we go. Okay, it's working. It's what I thought was supposed to happen. We solved it by noodling around, trying to reset things. I hope this doesn't confuse anything. So let's roll back to make sure we know what's going on here. We've got a bunch of function definitions. I've got 3 slightly different versions of this tokenizing, capitalizing function we've written. I'm going to get rid of these, comment these out. The example text for each one. I'm going to move the sentence definition up a bit since it's pretty relevant to all of them. But here we go. Okay, so now our script has a certain flow to it. Okay, so I want to take input from the user and run our friendly function on it. So I've got x gets that input, and then I'm going to say split cap 3 on x. By default, we'll just allow it to do the first 5 words, right? So if I run this, come on, friend. I am not a dog. Well, it did it, but I gave it too few words. Let's run it again. I may seem like a dog, but I assure you, I am not a dog. Hey! We've just taken text from the user by calling this input function and giving it a little prompt, and then assigning it to a value, and then throwing that value into our output function. Input is a powerful tool for you to make something that actually interacts with your user, not just you demonstrating things in the script. We're getting to an interactive tool. These are the steps that we take to get there. So let's run it again. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. Uh-oh. It blew up again. Why do you do this? Run. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Okay. Jeez. Something is very screwed on this website. I may suggest you use a different one. In fact, let's tear up our work and run back to our friend Python online editor. We'll use the one on good old-fashioned W3 Schools. The only problem with W3 Schools, I'm going to run it right here. Delete all their stuff. Is it may not play nice with the system inputs. So again, bear with me on this. This was working nicer earlier in the day. If I run this, does input blow up? Does input get upset? What does prog mean? Oh dear. All right, it blew itself up. Never mind, W3 Schools. You couldn't help us either. We'll stick with the Python interpreter here, the PyProgramIz site. Okay, so I've got all this text. I'm gonna Command A, Command X, just to reload, get it fresh, and then Command A, Command V to put it all back. All right, run this. What we're trying to do is show that anytime we run this, we can type whatever we want. Hey, okay. As long as it's one line for at least the input function. So now What if we want to just do this over and over? Kind of like our friend Eliza. Eliza is sitting here waiting for a prompt. Eliza says, hey, are you there? Every so often it prompts me again. And I can say, blah, 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 blah. And it's going to be mad at me for, yes, can you elaborate on that? Didn't give it much anything it could seize on. So it's not going to be playing with our situation here. So what we can do, let's get rid of these. Or, well, I'm going to keep up just comment things. Rarely should you be deleting things when you're still playing with and working out what you're doing. You can make a clean version later, and in fact, do go back and clean up a lot of your scraps, right? These are all scraps. This is just us testing stuff. It's not all important. We actually know this line is broken, right? But we leave it here just so we can keep track of what we're doing and thinking. That's the power of a script. Writing in a script is a log of how you have played with this system and the computer to make things happen. So let's just do this. Let's just say, let's loop and just keep taking inputs from the user and spitting them back out. Let's say for I in range 0 to 100. Up to 100 times, we're going to take a string from the user and spit it out in this split cap way. So we can actually do something cute with it too. We can say, in fact, we'll only go through 10, right? We can even supply the index as the extra variable in our split cap 3. So what are we doing? Well, the first thing we need to do is go grab text from the user. So user input we can call is input give me a sentence. Okay, this line says in the variable user input, call the function input, which is going to go to talk to the actual user, and give them this prompt, but then take whatever they give us and throw it into user input. Okay, now we can just go ahead and call split cap 3, the function that we defined, give it the value that's in user input, and we can also give it I, so that the first thing that the user gives, capitalize the first word. The second thing the user gives, capitalize 2 words, etc. So, does this work? Let's find out. Give me a sentence. I am truly not a dog. Give me a sentence. I am simply not a dog. Why are you doing this? Also, I spelled sentence wrong. Sentence. Start over. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Okay. So, you see, I've given it the same words multiple times. We can give it, I am not a dog, I swear. Why are you like this? Run it again. I am not a dog, I swear. I really am not a dog. I promise I am not a dog. Okay. Do we see? We've done all of this from scratch, and we've created this dynamic back and forth with the system. The system gives a prompt, and we respond. The user gives something over, and then the system spits something back out. It's a little silly. It's just this text chopping system. But think of our friend Eliza. Eliza is taking a text string from you, doing some kind of process on it, and then spitting something back out for us to respond to. This is input-output. This is every program ever made, baby. This is computers. This is Video games, this is everything. This is the basic interaction loop. Yes, this is far stupider than any game that you've probably played. Even the worst games are more complex and interesting, but this is working. Here, just for a second, bet it breaks. I bet it breaks. Yeah, it broke. Not sure why. Still figuring that out. Anyway, I apologize for this fuss. The goal of doing this in an online setup is so that you don't have to stumble over installing. But what I do promise you is that if you run this code in any Python environment, it will do the same thing. That's kind of the goal here of doing these in different scenarios. Okay, so one last thing to throw down is this is saying we're only going to do this 10 times. There's another kind of loop we can use that allows us to do things forever or until a very specific condition is met. Because for loops in Python are typically all about moving over a collection of things. We can also do while loops. So a while loop will go until some condition, we can just call it condition for a second, is changed to false, right? For now, we can just say true. Now, be wary of this. If you do this, you might get what is called an infinite loop. You'll do some line of code. It'll do it 1 trillion times because you've never given it a way to stop doing it. Whoopsie. That'll happen sometimes. Don't fuss about it. You can always kill the system, and it's not the worst thing. Infinite loops will happen in your programming life. But this is just a way for us to say, until the system dies, do this same process over and over. We'll comment these out, and we'll do while true, do it. Let's find out. So what's this going to do? Define 2 useless functions, define 3 similar functions, of which we'll only really take the last. Oh, but here's the problem. I no longer have I defined. So if I really want I, let's just skip it for now. You got to be careful with that kind of stuff because we use the fancy value, the variable that was defined in the for definition there, that doesn't exist here. So let's see again, user input. And in fact, I'm going to do another trick that makes things even simpler. You see that this is a variable and that we've assigned something into it. And then we just go turn around, right around and put the variable in there. Well, what if instead of having a variable, we just called that function right there inside the arguments of the other function? So this is saying call splitcap3 with whatever argument exists here. To get this argument, we have to evaluate what's in here, and that means we're going to call input. So now, forever, call splitcap3 on whatever the user gives you as input. That's what this instruction says. Literally forever. So if we run it, give me a sentence. Okay, I'll give you a sentence. Give me a sentence. Here's another one. How many do you actually want? You notice the default value of 5 is the capitalization. How many do you actually want? Yeah, it's blowing up. I think every time I click around, it gets killed. Anyway, we'll talk about doing this in a system that is less frustrating at some point. But for now, what we've shown is how to create an interactive text-based agent. It's not really an agent. It's not really doing much with our information, but it's doing something. So we're on our way towards making a program that could be, say, a chatbot, right? The last note here is at the end of all this, we've produced this script, but we have it here in this weird web browser situation. So what we'll do is open up a text editor. Text edit is my basic simple one. You might have Notepad if you're on Windows or other text editor tools. So just go grab all your text, copy it, Control C, Command C, and paste it, Command V, etc. And you can save this as a Python file. This is to show you, to demonstrate, what we'll call this, split cap, right? .py. That is just, that's all any code ever was, is a bunch of lines of text. You could open it in a text editor, you could edit it in a text editor, and you could run this on Python. In fact, let's go one last final leap, and I'll show you my command line terminal. Pop this up. We'll close the website. We'll close our friend Eliza. Back here. Okay. Here's the real question. So this is the command line. It is the system command text prompt. Not asking you to do this and follow along. I just want to demonstrate. We'll get into this later, but I want to demonstrate how this does. So change directory to documents, courses. Yeah, terminal can do that, buddy. Huh, that's fun. COG 376. We'll just go in there and see what's in there. CD semesters, CD 2021. If you're watching this in the future, this is a little bit outdated. I'm sorry. LS. CD lectures / CD 04 untitled project LS. Okay. The point of me coming all the way down here is you can run Python right here in the terminal. If I just run Python, here it is. Print hello world, right? Hey, great. I can also call the exit function to get us back to the terminal. So here we are in this space. If I run Python, I can give, so this is telling the terminal, hey, go run the Python programming language. If you just do it without anything else, it just runs it. It runs the language. It pulls up the interpreter and lets you play around in it. Here, we can give it the file name, which is right here, that we've navigated to. So if I run splitcap.py, give me a sentence. I am really, honestly, not a dog. Give me another sentence. I can only tell you so many times how little I am a dog. Give me a sentence. How many? Why will you ever stop? How many sentences do you need? Okay. This is to point to show you that Python works the same everywhere. I've been giving you the online versions just to make sure we're all on the same page. There's no installation issues, all this kind of stuff. I will do another sort of demo soon about getting this stuff up and running. You know, the details, right? How do we get a file in the right spot to make sure it's running and blah, 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 blah. None of it's too hard, but it's all quite useful. So I hope this has shown a few things. I'm going to post, again, the code in a yeah, I'll stick to a PDF form. I'm going to post the code, and I'll add a few more comments to track where we've been. But all in all, this is, we're getting on our way to writing a specific program, right? This is a little program that we ran right from the command line that now asks for sentences forever until the heat death of the universe, provided this computer never shuts down. And actually, I can show you, if you just hit Control C, that means kill. It's called the keyboard interrupt, and it kills whatever process is happening in the terminal. Kill, 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 kill. So that's a useful thing to know as well. But this is not the critical part. The idea is that you should follow along, go back and do these text lines, define these functions, play with them, change them, do anything with them. But this is meant to be very interactive. I'm trying to walk you through all this content so that you can have the hands-on experience even though we are distanced. So that's it for today. Thanks for coming along. We'll get some more soon. All right. Thanks. Take care.